Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Izuku the Lone Power Ranger, written by JamesGrover. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. Izuku, the Lone Power Ranger. Izuku Yagi, age 4 to 6, likes Katsudan, his family, his friends, his twin. Dislikes anyone hurting someone he cares about, villains, doctors. Personality: Canon Baby Izuku. Quirk, quirkless. Powers: none. Overnight, the day Izuku was born, the quirkless population vanished for an unknown reason, but nobody cared enough to investigate. Izuku Midori Yamada, age 16, likes Katsudan, his family, his friends, his twin. Dislikes anyone hurting someone he cares about, villains, doctors. Personality: Canon Baby Izuku. Quirk, quirkless. Powers: none. Overnight, the day Izuku was born, the quirkless population vanished for an unknown reason, but nobody cared enough to investigate. Izuku Midori Yamada, age 16, suit: powers: red, super strength to the level of muscular at his full power; blue, increased durability enough to endure an onslaught of punches from All Might; black, stealth to all technology and people, completely undetectable; yellow, supersonic roar; pink, flight; white, super speed; weapons elements, power daggers, earth power sword, fire power lance, water power bow, air power axe, shadows or darkness Saba. Light Saba will not be sentient anymore as its spirit chose to stay with Tommy Hrm Katsumi, main, Momo Yayorozu me Hatsumitsuka Kendo Fuyumi Todoroki Yui Kodai. Izuku, the Lone Power Ranger. I do not own MHA or MMPR. Izuku's POV: today is another day like every other, yet it feels more deadly but also brighter than all the others. I was awoken from my slumber by the usual kick to the stomach by Inko telling me to get off my blanket on the floor of the empty broom closet. I got up ignoring the pain from the kick like usual and go make breakfast for them. I'm tempted to put poison in it, but I don't, due to the fact that I don't really want to hurt anyone. I receive my beating for not having the food done instantaneously like they want, even though it is not possible. I then pick myself up and head to school, not bothering to cover any of the bruises since the only person who cares is Katsumi, and she gets mad when I try to hide my injuries from her. The school knows and doesn't care that my family beats on me. Anyways, school just started and the other twins are already at it, attacking me under the guise of playing heroes and villains, though the guise isn't necessary since none of the teachers care. It's now recess and the kids are all excited since pro heroes are visiting the schools to give a presentation of some kind, though the twins seem to have forgotten as they're attacking me in the playground when Bakugo starts using his quirk on me. Kat spots us and gets in the way, pissing the others off. "You dare betray us, Kat-chan!" Izumi shouted in rage, with the other 5 agreeing. "Kaken, let's show her what happens to those who betray the heroes." As I'm laying on the ground, I see Izumi holding Katsumi in place with her telekinesis while all the others are rounding up to let loose on Kat, and I know that I can't just sit here and let her get hurt, so despite my injuries I get up and shove Kat out of the way and take the attack head on, and everything goes black. Third person POV: present Mike was pulling up to the school when he spotted what looked like kids roughhousing, so he ignored it until he heard someone using their quirk and was going to intervene, but someone beat him to it. He was walking over when he spotted the kids preparing to attack the one who intervened. He started to run, but he knew he was too far away, when out of nowhere the original victim shoved his savior out of the way. What Present Mike saw next was horrifying. Trigger warning: Present Mike watched the kid's arm fly off the rest of his body. Present Mike screamed, for the first time not using his quirk since getting his license, out of fear for what they had just done to the boy, but he was ignored and heard the group laughing while the one girl sobbed her heart out. Present Mike rushed up and shoved the attackers out of the way before grabbing the girl and the boy and heading quickly for his car, where he set them in the back seat before speeding off using his quirk to make the noise of the police sirens, getting the other cars out of the way. He made it to UA in record time before grabbing the kids from the back of the car and rushing to Recovery Girl's office. The people who saw them all gasped in fear, while most turned pale or puked. Some did both. A few of them screamed and called for the other teachers. It didn't take long until every member of the faculty including the school therapist was outside of Recovery Girl's office with a very distraught little girl and present. Mike, I need you to calm down, Mike, unless you want me to get the kid to say what happened. Aizawa threatened. His arm is all present, Mike said. We could all see that it was gone, so what happened? Midnight asked, looking very green. The kids were attacking him when this little listener stepped in. Present, Mike said. I had just gotten there and hadn't been able to intervene just yet after I realized that it was an attack rather than roughhousing. What happened next? Nizu urged. They all were about to attack her when he shoved her out of the way. Present, Mike said, visibly shaking. Trigger warning over. As soon as the door opened, Katsumi was trying to get in to see Izuku. Recovery Girl, seeing the worry on Katsumi's face, let her past with a word telling her to let him sleep, though she was ignored. We need your help to figure out what has been happening to him. He has too many injuries for it to just be a few kids doing this to him. Recovery Girl said to the therapist, whose quirk allowed her to project memories of the unconscious, allowing others to see and hear. Everybody entered the room to see Katsumi holding Izuku's only hand. The scene broke their hearts. The fact that a little boy now has lost his arm due to the neglect of a school system, and his friend is now holding his remaining hand, crying and begging for him to wake up. We're gonna project his memories. You can leave if you'd like. Nizu told the little girl. He had a good life until we turned 4. Katsumi says through her tears. I don't know what his home life is like, but I know that at school he's constantly attacked and the teachers actually instigate the attacks. Katsumi informed them. Thank you for the information. Nizu says, letting the girl walk away, knowing she doesn't wish to see him in more pain. You may start. Nizu tells the therapist. She walks forward and taps Izuku's forehead, and her finger glows blue while she searches for Izuku's 4th birthday. When she finds it, her finger stops glowing, but a projection-like image pops up from Izuku's head, and the faculty watch as Izuku is attacked by his family, by his friends, by his peers and teachers. They see as the only good person in this boy's life is Katsumi. There were only a few clear faces in his memories, those being his parents and sister and Katsumi, though the way he saw Katsumi it was clear that something was going on with his heart towards her. As the projection ends with the most recent memory, the one where he lost his arm, the light disappears from his forehead and a bright glowing orb appears in front of them before taking the shape of a human. Hi. The person says. My name is Tommy Oliver. Yes, why are you here and how did you get here? Nizu asks curiously as the alarms aren't going off. I was a Power Ranger centuries ago and I've been talking with the first team of Rangers. We've decided to grant our power to this boy so that he may achieve his dream of being a hero despite him not being born with a power. Tommy says to the group, or more like through them. I'm just a hologram set up by Zordon for whoever is watching. He has the ability to view the future briefly but not clearly, so I have no clue about who is watching, but I know Zordon wouldn't allow you to see it if you had any evil intentions. So it seems as if this boy will gain a power from the past. Nizu pondered. All knowledge of how to access the power will be in his subconscious but not our experiences with it. I hope that whoever is watching this will help him train to become strong enough for the coming threat. Tommy said vaguely. Please, train him well, for the incarnation of evil is coming for this power and the source of all life which is hidden on Earth. If they get this power or the source of all life, the universe and multiverse is doomed. The man then turned back into an orb before flowing into Izuku's body and disappearing. Out of nowhere a ding is heard from the computer, causing all heads to snap towards it from the spooky encounter. We got a hit on his DNA from the database. Recovery Girl says. It turns out that the parents abusing him and using him as a SLV are all might and psychic like we thought. We can't let him go back to them, and you heard this Oliver guy, apparently there's a threat coming that this boy will have to face. Nizu says. And for him to be ready he needs to be in a good home that will help him get stronger. Power Loader, I need you to make a combat-ready prosthetic arm that will grow with him. I have a friend who can help with the growing with him part of that. Are you really just gonna believe some random hologram or whatever? Aizawa asked in disbelief. Better to believe it and be prepared, than not believe it and already lose the fight. Nizu says calmly. Izuku's POV. I wake up and all I feel is pain, but that's nothing unusual. What is unusual is the fact that I'm laying in a bed which is making me freak out. I open my eyes and am met with a bright light shining directly in them, causing me to groan and close them real quick, which seems to have alerted somebody that I'm awake. He's up. I heard an elderly woman's voice call out. Lay still, Sonny. Where am I? What happened? I asked, confused and worried. If I don't get back home, it's just gonna get worse. You will not be going back to your abusive family and peers. I hear another voice say. You will be taken care of by a pro hero, which one is yet to be decided. As long as they won't hurt me, I don't care which one. Aside from All Might and Psychic, I'd rather die than see them again. I say, not wanting to ever see their faces again. And why would you say that, young one? I heard the old lady ask. Because, when I met them in person, I asked if a quirkless person like me could become a hero. They actually laughed in my face before telling me that as the last quirkless person I should actually jump off the roof we were on. I said with a tear rolling down my face. I idolized them. I'll be making sure that their paychecks get reduced big time, as well as them taking mandatory therapy lessons that they have to pay for. The second voice said with a clear growl in it before it went back to the original way. We have somebody here that would like to see you. I heard the door open and heard someone running this way and was met with a crushing hug and went to hug them, only I never felt my other hand like I should have. I opened my eyes and spotted Katsumi on top of me but didn't see my arm. When I looked, it was gone completely. I would have freaked out if I wasn't expecting this kind of thing to happen sooner or later. I thought for sure you would freak out at missing an arm. The old lady asked, drawing my attention to her where I recognized her. Are you all right, dear? I'm fine, just a big fan of yours. Recover, girl. I said, keeping my fanboy side at bay. And as for the calmness of the situation, you can't really be shocked about something you expected to happen sooner or later. I just didn't think it would happen this soon. Well, since you don't seem to have a preference, the hero that brought you here will be the one to take care of you till you enter UA or some other high school where you'll go to their dorms. Nizu said. It's an honor to meet you, Principal Nizu. I greeted politely. Are you okay, Kat? Am I okay? Are you okay? She asked me incredulously. You're the one that lost an arm to those monsters. I'm fine, Kat. Like I said earlier, it was bound to happen sooner or later. I said. Speaking of the arm, I've requested that Power Loader build you a prosthetic one. I've also called in a favor so that the arm will grow with you, so it never needs to be replaced for a bigger one. Nizu says. You didn't have to, but thank you. I say, giving them a smile. Who am I going to be living with until high school, which I'm hoping to go to UA despite me not having a quirk? And should you apply, I can guarantee your entry. Nizu says. I'd rather earn my place at this school if it's alright with you. I say to him, bowing my head as best I can with Kat still on top of me. I told you he'd say that. Nizu called out just before the door opened. It seems I have lost the bet. Eraserhead said. Looks like you'll be my student as soon as Power Loader is finished with your prosthetic arm and you heal up properly. It would be an honor, Eraserhead. I said, surprising everybody here. There isn't a hero I don't know about, and having an eidetic memory comes in handy, though it is as much a curse as it is a blessing. It would seem so with your past. Nizu says, sighing sadly. And as for who you'll be staying with, you and Ms. Katsumi will be staying with present Mike, as those kids also tried attacking her, and I doubt it would have been the last time too. Okay, can I at least call my parents to let them know what's going on? Kat asked. As long as you're vague and don't tell them you're with heroes, just say you're in witness protection after witnessing a serious crime. Give no details about the crime and say you can't for your own protection and theirs. Nizu instructs her and she nods before heading out into the hall to make the call following Nizu's instructions. Why do I have knowledge in my head that wasn't there before I was attacked and passed out? I ask, just now realizing that something is telling me not to do something until I get the prosthetic arm. That would be due to what happened while you were unconscious. Nizu starts. You were given a power stronger than a quirk to defend the Earth from a threat. We aren't sure as of yet what the threat is, but I will look into it. So I have a quirk or a power. If the Yagis ever find out, they'll try to take me back to them. I said, worried. Which is why I'm not contacting them, and when they come looking for you, I'll tell them you were taken by a child protection organization and have already been adopted out. Nizu says with an evil glint in his eye. I finished. It didn't take long, as I've had a blueprint for this type of project for quite some time in case a pro hero ever lost an arm in the line of duty. Power loader says, entering the room. It has a temperature regulation function, and the metal can handle up to 1000 degrees Celsius, 1832 degrees Fahrenheit. Before you even risk damaging it, it can also form a shield which can also be heated or cooled depending on your preference. No matter how cold you make it, it'll never get brittle or weak. He explains. It'll be linked to you via a wireless neural interface, that way even removed you can control it. That's awesome. You really are an awesome inventor, power loader. I cheered in awe, unable to hold back my fanboy mode any longer. Aw shucks kid, you're making me blush. He says, rubbing the back of his helmet. He's just so adorable. I can't believe that Mike is gonna adopt him. I heard someone say, causing me to freeze. And there goes my surprise. Thank you, Namuri. Present Mike said. I recognized his voice from his radio show. Are you really gonna? I asked quietly. Yes, and I'd also like to adopt the little girl as well if she'd like that. He says quietly, surprising everybody. He's not shouting. Did his quirk malfunction or something? The woman asked. No, I just know what it's like to be abused. Present Mike said to her. My parents didn't like my quirk or me using it, and so every time I used it accidentally or not, they'd beat me till I was unconscious to teach me my lesson. I pulled Present Mike into a one-armed hug as best I could, and he reciprocated. Soon enough we broke apart from our sort of shared experience, and power loader sets to work attaching the arm to me, and before long I can feel my right arm again, although it's quite obvious that it's not my original arm. About 20 minutes later someone else walks in and nods to Nizu before approaching me and using their quirk on the arm, and it feels more natural than before. Izuku's POV. It's been about a month since Kat and I moved in with Present Mike, and I've been cleared by Recovery Girl to start this training that was a reward of a bet between Nizu and Eraserhead, but all in all I'm happy. I'm no longer a SLV or a punching bag to anyone, and I'm actually happy. Show is here to get you, Izuku. Present Mike yelled with his quirk active. That still makes me jump, but not nearly as much as it used to. I understand that it's his way of dealing with his abuse and trauma, so I don't say anything. I run down the steps and meet them both at the front door. Good to know that you know time is precious. Eraserhead says with an approving tone. We'll start by simply getting your body ready to start learning martial arts. And that's how the next few months went, homeschooled by Nizu-sensei alongside Kat, helping Present Mike take care of the house, and exercising with Eraserhead. Last time he said I may be ready to start learning, so he's gonna put me through a test to actually see if I'm ready or not. Time skips several years. Kat and I are now 14, and I'm quite tall for my age. I'm around 6 foot tall and Kat is around 5 foot, and she hates it as I was always the shortest of our group before all but Kat turned on me. I've started pulling draws against Uncle Sho, not every match but enough that it now entertains him. He says that the only deciding factor between us is now experience, since I don't use the enhanced strength of my metal arm in our matches like I would against a villain. I decided to strengthen my already well above average physique by cleaning the entirety of Dagoba Municipal Beach, which became an illegal dump site over the span of my life, seeing as before we turned 4 Mr. and Mrs. Yagi used to take Yagi and I there all the time. It'll soon be my birthday, though over the years I've never told anyone since I don't like it. Kat knows I don't like it, so she doesn't tell them either, though Dad, Present Mike, does celebrate the day he officially adopted Kat and I as my birthday despite my protests. Kat also calls him Dad after she got permission from her parents, who I've never met, so I don't know if they'd have attacked me for being quirkless or not, but I don't think they would based on how Kat talks about them. She's kept in touch with them over the years but has never visited them. It took several months because despite my metal arm some things were still difficult to move, though they did become easier the longer I was at it. I didn't really bulk up, but I did solidify the muscles I already had along with making them more dense. I've had to avoid news crews, but I did leave a note with a few simple answers on it, nothing that would identify me but would get them to say they got their answers and wouldn't be coming back to the beach, so I was able to finish it in peace within the time remaining between then and the exams, which are today. I've made it to UA grounds and entered into the auditorium. I arrived earlier so that I had time to hide before they possibly show up. Nizu explained that he couldn't blacklist them because it would lead to suspicion, which would lead them to me, and that couldn't be risked. I also told him I'd rather he not, because I'd rather they try to become heroes than have that option be blocked because of me and then they become villains and hurt others. I would feel like it was my fault. The written exam was much too easy. Kat and I were done in 15 minutes, though that's because we are Nizu's personal students. We were sitting in the auditorium waiting for the others and Dad to show up. While waiting we decided to snuggle, and after half an hour at least I fell asleep. I was soon awoken by a familiar voice yelling that caused me to tense, which instantly awoke Kat, who looked ready to kill someone. I was able to hold her in place after she spotted who was sitting 3 rows ahead of us. It was all 6 of them, all staring at us in disgust. Dad screamed at them to leave us, his children, alone before explaining the final robot, and we were sent on our way. Kat and I were given the same exam city since there were only 4 and the others were set 2 to an area. We decided to follow the unspoken rule of not teaming up with friends from the get-go and only to team up with each other in case of an emergency. As soon as the gate opened, Kat and I bolted in and went our separate ways. I heated my arm up to a degree that would allow me to use it as a sword by using a martial arts technique, and was slicing the robots to pieces faster than they could be sent my way. I didn't even keep track of my points as I was too focused on destroying the robots while saving random participants that were getting overwhelmed or were about to be hit by other participants or rubble. Point is, I was too busy to keep track of my score. I decided that I had plenty of points to pass, so I went to spectate Kat, who was having a load of fun destroying robot after robot. She might be kind, but she also loves destruction. Eventually she decided she'd had enough fun and spotted me already spectating her and came over to talk to me. "Hey baby," she said, sitting next to me. "How long have you been here?" "About 5 minutes, love," I replied. Despite us both being adopted by Dad, we fell in love with each other and he had no problem with us dating, so we decided to go at our own pace, which is a lot slower than what most teenagers would be happy with, but it worked for us. We were simply sitting and watching the other participants only destroying the robots that attempted to attack us until the ground started to shake and the other bots shut down, and I knew what was coming. I was ready to dash with the others until someone cried for help, and I couldn't ignore a plea for help like so many did when I begged for help. I quickly bolted in the direction that somebody had asked for help, and Kat wasn't too far behind me. I spotted a brown-haired girl trapped under a piece of fallen rubble. Kat and I rushed over to help her, and when we got her free we could see that her leg was broken and we knew we couldn't carry her fast enough to escape the speedy giant. "Throw me," I yelled over the noise to Kat, who obliged and threw me with an explosive boost while I heated my arm to the absolute limit before I risked damaging it and dragged my arm down its middle, frying the electronics in it and slowing my fall to a safe speed. As soon as I was near enough to the bottom, I leaped of the zero-pointer and safety rolled to a protective crouch over the 2 girls before the zero-pointed exploded from the fried electronics and melted metal and fuel and whatnot. It didn't take long before the pro heroes were here to check on everybody. The only thing I hated was the fact that All Might and Psychic were among them. Izuku's POV, I kept myself in check to not expose myself as the little boy they laughed at all those years ago, but it wasn't easy. The only reason I succeeded was because of Kat's help. Dad rushed up to us and hugged us tight, not letting go, and soon Aunt Nem joined him with a worried-looking Uncle Sho standing off to the side, though he hid his worried look as best he could. "We're all right, I didn't even have to break out my secret weapon, Dad," I said, calming him down slightly. "I know, but you're my kids, I'll always worry," he says calmly but still a little shaken. "I love you guys, I hope you know that. Don't scare me like that, you two," Aunt Nem demanded. "Sorry, Aunt Nem, but it's kinda in the job description," Kat said with a small laugh. It didn't take long after they heard my voice for them to recognize who I was, but they kept their mouths shut before Psychic whispered in Nizu-sensei's ear. He looked hidden, said, as in he was said, but only Kat and I picked up on it. He nodded his head, playing along despite what he wanted to do. Soon enough they walked off with us following due to Nizu-sensei's request. I carried the brown-haired girl until we reached the gate, where I set her down for Recovery Girl to treat her. As soon as we reached Nizu-sensei's office, All Might turned towards us looking ready to charge, so the shield function of my arm activated and I got in front of Cat until All Might shrunk down and turned into my bio dad, causing both me and Cat to freeze. I won't let you hurt my nephew any more than you already have, Toshinori Yagi. Uncle Sho shouted angrily. My arm automatically went back to normal, but I stayed in front of Cat, not taking a chance of not being in position to protect her in the off chance he decided to try to attack again. Why does the freak have a metal arm? Mrs. Yagi spat. It's because of the 6 villains you call future heroes. I responded coldly and without emotion, like I do with anybody I don't trust. What's wrong with you? You sound like a robot. Mr. Yagi taunted. A lot less than what's wrong with you, you psycho. I responded in kind. Enough. Nizu-sensei demanded, and I did as told. Now, we know exactly what you did to Izuku, and that is why your pay was cut all those years back, along with mandatory therapy lessons, though I don't think they did much, so you'll be having those lessons from our school therapist, and you won't be allowed near any kids excluding your daughter unsupervised. Nizu-sensei says coldly in a similar manner to me. Well, we'll be taking the freak back with us so he doesn't corrupt the future heroes. Mrs. Yagi said, like she was doing them a service. You shall not be touching my son, you monsters. Dad shouts at them with his quirk active. He is a better hero than you'll ever be, so if anyone might corrupt them, it's you and those villains you call your daughter and her friends. Don't you dare talk about my baby like that, or I'll arrest you. Mr. Yagi threatened. You hold no such power here, Yagi. Nizu-sensei said. All of the staff know of what you've done and will not hesitate to fight back against the both of you, be it physically or verbally. He'll be coming back with us, he's quirkless and has no right to even be near UA grounds. Mrs. Yagi demands. If you do not stop, I'll fire you both along with revoking your hero licenses. Nizu-sensei threatened. I have the power to do so, so don't test me. The Yagis stormed out of the room and I let out a sigh of relief and felt my knees buckle before I collapsed. Cat caught me before I hit the ground, with Uncle Sho and Dad getting me into a chair to try and calm down. As soon as the adrenaline was entirely gone, I passed out. Third-person POV. After Izuku passed out, Katsumi freaked out but soon calmed down when she felt his chest rise and fall underneath her hand. He's alright, it was just the nerves and shock of the sudden situation that caused him to pass out. Nizu said, also breathing a sigh of relief. I ought to don't like that BSTRD and his beach of a wife for what they've done and what they just tried to do. Aizawa yells. As much as I agree with you, we can't, the public still needs their number one hero even if he's a complete fraud. Nizu says sadly. Though you can order their kids to stay away from Izuku and Katsumi if you so choose, with the threat of expulsion should they disobey. Usually that would make me happy, but it's not enough. They literally blew his arm off, that's literal mutilation, and all they get is a warning and a restraining order. Aizawa bellowed. I don't care what they do or how they live their lives as long as they leave me the hell alone. Izuku said after being startled awake. I'm really happy that you care so much about me, but I'd rather not have you go into cardiac arrest, old man. Old? I'm not that old, am I? Aizawa questioned, shocked but calmed down. No, you're not. I just said that to get you to calm down. Izuku said with a smile, standing up. So, let's go home to wait for our letters of acceptance. Why are you so sure you're getting in? Nizu said teasingly. Because Kat and I are your personal students, so there's no way we failed the written test, and I know for a fact that we scored the highest in our area, and because of how few bots there were, and only 6 from each area are accepted into Class A each year, along with 2 recommended and 12 into the hero course with 4 of the recommended. Izuku said, not losing his confidence. Besides, even if we had scored below the required amount, Uncle Sho wouldn't allow you to put us in any of the other classes. He's right, you know. Aizawa said with a sigh. The only reason I haven't quit teaching was to teach these two. I don't trust anyone else to teach them because of what Izuku will have to face soon, and I know where he goes Katsumi follows. Well, it's a good thing that you two both made it to 1A then, isn't it? Nizu said with a happy cheer. You'll have to wait for your letters to get your exact scores, but you both start in 1A in 2 weeks. Izuku's POV today is the day we get our letters, though I know we're not as anxious as the others who participated in the exam, but it's still nerve-wracking to see how we did compared to others. I'm in my room doing the homework Nizu-sensei assigned Kat and I when Dad screams that the letters are here, so I burst out of my room along with Kat rushing out of hers, and we both sprint down the stairs and nearly tackled Dad to get our letters. We both headed to the living room where we opened the letters on the coffee table and a little metal disc came out of both. Kat pressed hers first, so we heard her score first. You have tied for first on the written exam and you were second on the physical exam. Hologram Nizu-sensei said. You got a 100% on the written, and as such you and the person you tied with are the first ones to ever get 100% on the written exam. For the physical exam you scored 100 villain points and 65 rescue points, as such tying with All Might's record of 165 points, and he was fighting to the end where you spent the last 5 minutes relaxing. Alright, you did amazing Katsumi. Dad cheered. Thanks Dad, start yours now Izu. Kat said with a smile on her face, urging me to start the hologram message. You have tied for first on the written exam and you were first on the physical exam, Hologram Nizu-sensei said. You got a 100% on the written, and as such you and the person you tied with are the first ones to ever get 100% on the written exam. For the physical exam you scored 178 villain points and an astounding 355 rescue points, putting you way above All Might's record, and you only actually fought for the first 5 minutes and spectated the others for the rest of the exam, getting you a total of 533 points, and you did this without a quirk and without using your power. Hologram Nizu-sensei cheered. You completely dominated the competition and you did it in only a third of the time. Dad shouted. That's to be expected, after all I'm the one who trained him. Uncle Sho said from the doorway. Congratulations you too. Thanks Uncle Sho. Kat and I say in sync. Can't wait to pester you in class. Speaking of which, what do we call you in class? Okay, stop that, it's creepy. He said, pointing between us. And you'll call me Uncle Sho like you always do. It's not our fault that we're talking in sync. We said, causing Uncle Sho and Dad to shiver. Is it cold or something? Kat and I teased them. Just get ready for class next week. Uncle Sho says before speed walking out of the house. Nice job you two, you got him to move faster than his slow walk, you won the bet against Nizu. Dad says. I guess there is a first time for everything, and it was recorded so we have proof. Now let's get packed up Kat. I'll help you if I finish before you. I say, and she nods, and we both go pack all but a week's worth of our clothes. It didn't take long before we were all packed up and ready for next week. I didn't bring my hero merch, but I did decide to bring my in-room training equipment. The week passed by in a blur, and soon enough we were moving into the dorms the day before classes started. It's good to see you again Izuku, Katsumi. Nizu-sensei greeted us. I heard you have a video to show me. I handed Kat my phone while I took the boxes out of her hands, and I continued on to our room to set up. When I came back out for the next load of boxes I could see Kat grinning like a maniac, so I knew that Nizu-sensei had held up his end of the bet. I gave a small chuckle before picking up the next load of boxes. Why don't you deal with unpacking while I carry the boxes, since you're the one setting up the decorations and whatnot? I suggested, and Kat smiled before walking into the building to get started. About 3 of our classmates were here by the time we finished. So we decided to help them carry their stuff to their rooms. As students arrived we helped them until all but the last 6 were here. We already knew who the final 6 were, so we headed to our room after introducing ourselves to everyone, including our relationship, which surprised many. We didn't tell them our quirks or, in my case, powers. We laid in bed snuggling for a few hours till she started getting hungry, to which I got up and picked her up, carrying her to the dining room, much to the surprise of many of our new classmates, since I kept my metal arm out of sight last time and now it's in full view. Many of them gasped and looked at me shocked. "Is your arm caused by your quirk?" Kirishima asked. "Nope, this arm was caused by bullying," I said while setting Kat down in a chair before heading to the kitchen to start cooking. Third-person POV, was it really caused by bullying? Yaoyorozu asked with her hand still over her mouth. "Yes, it happened when we were 6. Katsumi answered. "He was getting bullied by our former friends when I stepped in and they didn't like that, so the rest of them activated their quirks and were going to attack me. I was caught in one of their quirks and couldn't move to protect myself or anything, and Izu shoved me out of the way, taking the hit, and his arm and most of his shoulder went flying." Kat explained. 6 kids attacked us and he paid the price for defending me. And I'd sacrifice my left arm doing the same thing all over again. Izuku said, coming out of the kitchen with food for everyone. "I was being abused by my parents as well, so when Dad brought us to Recovery Girl and they had the school therapist use her quirk on me, Dad adopted me and Kat was adopted by him as a form of witness protection. Before you ask, we won't be giving names in the hopes that they've changed for the better since then," Katsumi said before taking a bite, and her mouth didn't open again unless it was to shovel more food in it. When everyone had a bite, they followed Katsumi's example, including the 6. Everybody ate in peaceful silence. It wasn't awkward or anything like that, just calm and relaxing. After the meal, everybody went to the common room and did their own things, be it talking with new friends or watching whatever was on the TV, except for Izuku and Katsumi, who are busy snuggling on one of the couches. "Tomorrow we're having a room competition," Ashido declared, with everybody going along with it. Izuku's POV, we're sitting in the classroom waiting for Uncle Sho. Katsumi and I are sitting in our seats dead silent, much to the confusion of the others, but we don't tell them why. Not too long after, they gave up on asking us why we weren't talking with them before they went about their own conversations, but that didn't last long when Uncle Sho showed up and ended up calling them irrational. They turned to us with looks of fake betrayal. "Don't look at them like that, I'm the one that told them not to tell you," Uncle Sho said, getting everybody's attention back on him. "Now, put these on and meet me outside in 5 minutes or less," he said before walking off. Kat and I got up as soon as he turned to walk off, and when we grabbed a uniform the others were confused but didn't move, so I peeked my head back in. "If you're not out there in under 5 minutes he might expel you," I said before taking off at a quicker pace than originally intended due to me losing time to warn them. We're all in the locker room getting changed when I feel all eyes on me, or more specifically my scars, but I ignore the stares and finish before rushing out to the field. I get there first and spot Uncle Sho laying in the shade, so I go and lay beside him, and before long I doze off, only to quickly be woken up by Kat telling us that the class is here. "Alright, today we're doing a quirk apprehension test," he says before the brown-haired girl named Uraraka from the entrance exam interrupts. "What about orientation?" she asked curiously, and that curiosity is gonna get us killed via training. "It's pointless, and here at UA teachers have free reign of the curriculum, meaning we can skip pointless ceremonies," Uncle Sho says. "Now, Midori Yamada, step into the circle and get this ball as far as you can without leaving the circle," he says, throwing a baseball at me. I catch the baseball in my metal hand, careful to not crush it before stepping into the circle. I wait for him to give me the signal to tell me he's ready. He nods his head and I wind back my arm before sending it forward as hard as I can. Before long I hear the tablet beep and he flips it around, showing 837 meters, getting looks of shock from my classmates and a wolf whistle from Kat causing me to blush. I hear Ashido winding up and can't stop her in time to save us. "This looks like fun," she cheered, and I facepalmed, using my left arm, my flesh one. "Fun, eh? Let me have a little fun then," Uncle Sho says with his sadistic smirk. "Last place gets expelled." After he said that, I decided I wasn't going to go easy on anybody to make sure I'm not the one getting expelled. Uraraka was going to speak up until Kat stopped her and the tests were started. Uncle Sho stopped me after the long-distance run to ask a question. Why are you not using it? He asked, dead serious. Because using that would draw it to me much faster. I responded, getting a nod out of him. I saw the look on Jiro's face, one of confusion and the want of answers, and shook my head knowing she had heard us. Good job, Uncle Sho, you've now exposed that I'm not using something to a member of the class. I said with a shake of my head before heading to the next test, which is my last one. It's time for the running long jump. I know that I won't clear it by just jumping, and I'm not sure what else I can do until it clicks. When it's my turn I start to run before flipping, and when I get to the line I'm in a handstand using only my metal arm, and I use it to launch me into a multi-flip airborne journey, leaving my metal arm behind as it's the heaviest part of me and would only weigh me down after the launch. I by far clear the sandbox and land with a safety roll back to my feet. I hear a few people scream in horror before I see Kirishima pick my arm up, and I decide to mess with him by moving it despite it not being attached. I first poked his shoulder with my detached arm, that got him to turn but not see anybody, so I use my detached hand to poke his other shoulder and he does a full circle, not spotting anybody close to him. Look down, Kirishima. Cat called out to him, and when he did I used the arm and hand he was holding to wave at him, and he screams in terror, throwing my arm at me, and I catch it before setting it down. I take off my shirt and hear a lot of gasps and whispering as I'm reattaching my arm before I put my shirt back on. At this I hear a few noises of disappointment but ignore them and head over to Cat before everybody has to do the ball throw. You just had to give everyone a show, didn't you? She asks in a whisper. Which one you talking about, because I know you enjoyed both. I said to her in an even lower whisper. This got her to blush and shut down temporarily until it was her turn, which happened to be just before the sixth turn. She launched it with her explosion, which launched it nearly 800 meters, putting her in third behind me and Uraraka, who got infinity. Next up was Ms. Yagi, who launched the ball and got 600 meters, then came the final four before Bakugo. The four got decent scores but didn't come close to the top four, then came Bakugo. He shouted die like it was gonna help him, and he put on a good show, but in the end it didn't help as he got 705 meters. He scowled and actually looked enraged about the fact that he was fourth in this test, seeing as he's been behind me the entire time. I'm not gonna tell you all your individual scores, so just look at the board for your score. Uncle Sho says before stepping aside to reveal a board. Izuku Midori Yamada Katsumi Bakugo Yamada Momo Yayorozu Shoto Todoroki Shoko Todoroki Izumi Yagi Katsuki Bakugo. Hitoshi Shinso, the expulsion was a logical ruse to get you to try your hardest. Uncle Sho lies to the group, getting Shinso to calm down. Go back to the classroom and fully introduce yourselves. When we get back to the classroom, Ashido starts off the proper introductions and it soon rounds to Kat and I'm Katsumi Bakugo Yamada. She starts off. My quirk is explosion, what I like is my boyfriend Aizu. What I hate is my twin brother for reasons he knows but I will not specify. So Bakubro really is your twin? Kirishima asked. I won't push for answers, if either of you ever feel like talking I'll listen. I'm Izuku Midori Yamada. I say casually. I'm the last quirkless person in existence, at least that anybody is aware of. What I like is my adoptive family and my girlfriend Kat. What I hate is my old family, especially my twin. There were rumors that one still existed but I thought it was fake. Somebody whispered and I heard all the whispers about quirkless, so I just put my usual stone-cold expression back on and sat back in my seat. Only one person really looked towards me as a person, and Kat seemed to pick up on that. Kat had a look I didn't recognize and it made me cautious. As soon as the bell rang I was out of my seat and headed towards the dorm, where I entered and locked myself in mine and Kat's dorm room. Katsumi's POV, I recognized the look on Aizu's face as soon as the whispers started, and I wanted nothing more than to scream out at them for it, but I also know that Aizu wouldn't want that, so I held my tongue. I looked out at them and I'm certain that my disgust for them showed, but there was one person that wasn't whispering or looking at Aizu in disgust. She was looking at him and then his arm, like she finally put the whole puzzle together, or at least as much as a random person could. As soon as the bell rang Aizu was gone before anybody noticed his disappearance. If he locks up his emotions again I'm coming for all but the one person who didn't start the whispers and looks of disgust. I say to them deathly calm. To that one person, thank you. With that I got up and left for the dorms hoping he didn't lock the door or I'll have to blow the door up. Third person POV, you guys are acting just like the people who took his arm. Yaoyorozu shouted at them. I know a lot of us here were also bullied, but his bullies did more than spout lies, spread rumors, and pick on him. His attacked him to the point of mutilation. Many of them put their heads down in shame, realizing that they were acting like those that had hurt them in the past. Izuku and Katsumi's past lowered their heads even further, knowing that they were the ones who mutilated Izuku by taking his right arm. We have to apologize to him. Most of the class agreed with what Ishido had said. But, what if he refuses to talk to us? Hagakure said, confusing the others. We just acted almost exactly like the people who attacked him. Then we'll wait until he's ready to talk to us. Yaoyorozu says to them. If you try to force it, it'll just make things worse. Time skip, it's the next day and Izuku hasn't talked to anybody but Katsumi since he left class yesterday. He doesn't glare at them or anything, but he also doesn't even look at them. It's time for the next hero class, which is battle training and taught by his abusers and supervised by his uncle. Izuku wasn't ready, especially after yesterday's events. Izuku's POV, I'm sitting at my desk just dreading what's coming next when I hear the stomps coming this way and I slam my head on my desk, drawing everybody's attention to me before the door slams open to reveal abusers 1 and 2 with 3 through 8 already in here. The class went wild while Katsumi and I groaned in frustration. I looked to Uncle Sho and he was also groaning quietly in frustration. He looked up and caught my eyes before giving me a look meaning, do you want to leave? And I shook my head, knowing I might need the lesson from this class later on, especially if the threat is as bad as Nizu-sensei and I predict. I got up and opened the wall of cases for our costumes and grabbed mine and Katsumi's cases and left, handing Katsumi's hers on the way. I left, ignoring the demands for me to return to the classroom from the abusers and others. I got changed and left to the training grounds before anybody else arrived. About 5 minutes after I arrived, Katsumi showed up and was surprised at my hero costume. It was a simple black exercise outfit that showed off my physique. Katsumi's nose dropped a little bit of BLD before she recomposed herself and walked over, pouting a bit. Naughty Izuku, she said, upset. You should know better than to wear something like that in public. Oh, so you'd rather I wear this in private then? I asked her teasingly, causing her whole face to turn red. Baka Aizu, she said before gently hitting my chest and shoulders with bald hands while hiding her face in my chest. I patted the back of her head before she pulled away upon someone clearing their throat, and we both turned to see a red-faced Yaoyorozu. Hello Yaoyorozu, I said calmly but not coldly. How can we help you? I thought I should warn you that the rest of the class isn't too far behind me, she said while composing herself. Thank you, I said with a small but genuine smile, and her cheeks got a small tint to them. Katsumi and I settled ourselves down and both looked coldly at the tunnel before the rest of the class started coming out the exit and flinching at our stares. Soon enough the teachers and Uncle Sho arrived and started things off. Kat was alone facing Shoka Todoroki and Tenya Ida, causing me to worry for her, but she just gave me a gentle smile as reassurance before giving a vicious grin towards her opponents, causing them both to flinch back in fear. I was also made solo and to face Katsuki Bakugo and Izumi Yagi. I saw the looks on the Yagi's and Bakugo's face as all three of them had nasty smirks on their faces while Izumi looked sad and worried. I also noticed the worried looks on everybody's faces except the three and gave a gentle smile in 3 other people's ways, those 3 being Katsumi, Yaoyorozu, and Uncle Sho. Everybody else was paired up in a regular 2 versus 2, leaving just Katsumi and I as the only 1 versus 2s, and Uncle Sho noticed it but couldn't do anything to stop it since it was within reasonable parameters. Though he did do something Mr. and Mrs. Yagi didn't like, he told them that he'd be the one running our matches instead of them. They had no choice but to accept his word since they were already on thin ice with, well, all of the other staff and faculty members. Katsumi and I sat side by side and watched the other matches proceed, and they all went the way we predicted down to the slightest detail. Yaoyorozu was the only one sitting close enough to hear us and was shocked by what was happening. How do you two know exactly what's going to happen before it even happens? Yaoyorozu asked us curiously. We've observed their body language and the way they think, and as such we know their moves before they even think them. Katsumi answered politely. It's not really hard since we've had plenty of practice at reading people thoroughly. Would you like to give it a try? I asked politely and she looked uncertain. I'll give you my observations on Kirishima and you tell us what you think he's gonna do in his match. Sure, it can't hurt to try and it'll be a good skill to learn for the future. She said, shrugging. Okay, he's obsessed with looking and feeling manly along with relying solely on his quirk instead of skills. I explained and she nodded. His fighting style is that of a street brawler. Okay, I think I know what he'll do. She said confidently but not cockily. He's going to attempt to work with Todoroki, and when that fails he'll charge in as a way to clear the way for him, as he views it important to supply even a little bit of help when it will in fact hurt their team. Good job, though I think he'll be too stunned by Todoroki refusing to work with him, and Todoroki will go ahead and freeze the entire building before Kirishima has a chance to charge in. Katsumi said, and right then Kirishima's match started. Just like both Yaoyorozu and Katsumi said, Kirishima tried to work with Todoroki and Todoroki's cold shoulder froze Kirishima in place, metaphorically. Izuku's POV, alright, you're up Izuku. Uncle Sho said, fully awake and nervous. Please keep yourself controlled. What do you mean? Hagakure questioned, alarmed. Due to the events of his past, Izuku has gained a ruthless and sadistic side. Uncle Sho answered. Those two will be extremely lucky if they only end up in Recovery Girl's office for 3 weeks or longer. Like the pathetic quirkless freak could lay a finger on me. Bakugo shouted. Your funeral boy. Uncle Sho said with a sigh of annoyance to cover his anger. Bakugo and Yagi are the villains, your 5-minute timer starts now. How is that fair? It'll take them 4 minutes to get to the building you designated. Mrs. Yagi shouted angrily. How is a 2-on-1 fair? Uncle Sho questioned. Shut your mouth before I make you a janitor instead of a teacher. Try anything like that and the press will be hearing about it. All Might tried to threaten. Talk to the press and we'll release the information we have about what you did to your son, then you'll both have fun in prison. Uncle Sho responded. I got to the entrance of the building just as Uncle Sho called the match to a start, so I entered the building, a plan already in mind. Come out and face me unless you're scared of attacking anybody that isn't held in place by your wear of a girlfriend. I shouted as loud as I could. I'll kill you, you worthless Deku. Bakugo shouted back just as he landed at the bottom of the stairs. He blasted directly at me, exactly like I thought he would. I morphed my arm into a shield, and when I felt his hand connect I dropped my arm's temperature so much that the sweat on his hand instantly froze him to my arm. I then kicked Bakugo until his skin ripped off of his hand, causing him to scream in pain, which brought a smile of pure joy to my face. I can see why you like making others scream in pain now, Bakugo. I said to him, failing to contain my laugh. I then morphed my arm back into my arm and punched Bakugo in the ribs, feeling at least 3 of them break, causing Bakugo to cough out BLD. I saw some black on Bakugo's injured hand, signifying that he's got some frostbite, that or he tried to use his explosions on that hand but it burnt the flesh that isn't used to the heat or effect of them. I then picked Bakugo up by his throat with my flesh arm and threw him through a window. I haven't heard him called out yet, so that means I can keep going. I leapt out the window after him, purposefully landing on his legs and breaking one of them. That's why I used my flesh arm, so that way he wouldn't fly too far. Alright, Bakugo is unable to fight and considered captured. Uncle Sho sighed through the intercom to me. As soon as I heard that, I wrapped the capture tape around Bakugo's throat and left him there writhing in pain and bawling his eyes out. Third-person POV. That was way too far. All Might shouted at Aizawa. Had it been reversed and you the referee, would you have called it sooner? Aizawa questioned. And don't lie, if you do you will lose everything as stated in your contract. No, the quirkless freak would have deserved it. All Might answered through gritted teeth while the class gasped in shock while Katsumi approached him, head down with her hair covering her eyes. As soon as she was in striking range she let off an explosion directly on All Might's injury, causing him to vomit a big amount of BLD but hide it from everybody he could. Nizu-sensei informed both Aizu and me about both of your secrets. Katsumi whispered in his ear. You'd better hope you don't have to fight either of us, ever. Izuku's POV, oh little where are you? I questioned in a sing-song voice, having already secured the fake bomb without touching it. Stop. Yagi sobbed. I know what I did was wrong, I know that I hurt you. How badly did you hurt me, do you know the extent? I questioned her, a sinister glint in my eyes. You lost your arm to me and my friends. Yagi answered, sniffling like a little beach. More than that, every single rib I have was fractured almost beyond repaired, so many burn scars and frostbite marks that I almost lost 2 or more of my limbs instead of the one you and your friends mangled and burned so bad that the Ida twins kicking it off actually helped me survive. I corrected. Fractured skull from high-speed impacts, minor brain damage from shockwaves caused by direct explosions, so much internal bleeding that I should have bled out within minutes of receiving the injuries, and last but not least my heart was nearly ruptured by all the damage withstood and from outside manipulation holding it in place while my body was beaten and jarred around nearly ripping all veins and whatnot. That was me, my telekinesis is what held your heart in place. Yagi mumbled. I'm gonna need you to speak up. All those explosions to the head as a child did my hearing no favors. I said, cupping my ear for exaggeration. It was me, wasn't it, that nearly ripped your heart out? Yagi questioned louder. Yes, you are the only person I've ever encountered besides your mother with a telekinetic quirk to my knowledge. I answered, laughing giddily at her expression, one of pure emotional pain. I left her there while I went back down 2 floors and touched the bomb 2 seconds before the timer went off. Heroes win by a hair, because you wouldn't stop playing with your prey. Uncle Sho said, hiding his happiness, I learned my sadistic side from him. Now return to the observation room, we have robots going to collect the villains. Izuku's POV were sitting in class, waiting for the bus to arrive to take us to the USJ. Nizu-sensei, Kat, and I all know about the ambush since we know what files were stolen. We informed 13 and Uncle Sho and they agreed with continuing with the event regardless, but we do have a whole team of top heroes on standby the moment Principal Nizu either gets word from us or loses contact with us. Alright brats, the bus is finally outside so get going. Uncle Sho said, everybody following his instructions. When we got onto the bus everybody got in their seats, with Kat deciding to sit on my lap of all places. We sat there and watched as the rest of the class filtered in. They took their seats and Uncle Sho sat in the driver's seat since whoever dropped the bus off left after doing so since those are Nizu's orders in order to keep the civilians safe. Midori Yamada. I heard a small questioning voice speak up. Yes. I asked calmly, keeping my face and voice blank. We wanted to say that we're so sorry for the way we reacted. Hagakure said, getting faster and more nervous. Thank you for apologizing. I said calmly, forcing a gentle smile on my face before she passed out from her nerves. I don't want to pry, but it's been eating at me since the first day. Jiro spoke up, getting everybody's attention. Aizawa-sensei said you weren't using something, what was he talking about? Uncle Sho, am I allowed to tell them? I asked him. Sure, but none of you are allowed to tell anyone else under any circumstances. Uncle Sho said, turning around in his seat and glaring while using his quirk. Watch the road before you kill us all. I said to him, a little nervous. Especially you 6 certain ones who know who they are. Uncle Sho said coldly. So, what is it? Jiro asked, excitement creeping into her voice. I was given an ability by people from the past, technology actually. I answered. But it didn't come without strings attached to it. How could technology from the past help here? Yaoyorozu asked curiously. Alien technology from people who used it in the past. Uncle Sho spoke up, keeping his eyes on the road. Wait, so aliens are real? Zero questioned excitedly while Ishido looked a bit nervous. As in confirmed 100%. What were the strings you were talking about? Yaoyorozu asked, sounding worried. The only reason I was given access to the technology and the energy source for it is because a big threat is coming that I will have to fight. I answered vaguely. What type of threat? Yagi asked quietly. We don't know for certain, but Nizu-sensei, Cat, and I predict that it's going to be devastating. I answered honestly, forcing myself to remain calm. Something worse than any villain from our world could ever become. What would the danger be after? Azui asked alarmed. The technology or power I was given and something that was hidden on our world a long time ago. I answered honestly. What was hidden? The male Ida asked from his seat. The source of all life. Uncle Sho spoke up. We've been looking for it since we were told about its presence here on Earth, but we've been unable to locate it. Everybody but Cat and I gasped in shock and they all turned their attention to him. From what we were told that day, if what's coming gets its hands on the power or the source, the entire multiverse is doomed. Then why not give the power to All Might? Bakugo shouted angrily. He'd wipe the floor with them. Yeah, why trust a kid to protect something that important? A few others chorused. Because it wasn't our decision to give Izuku the power or the responsibility, it was the first heroes who chose him. Uncle Sho said angrily. They chose him, that means he's the one who's most capable of succeeding, not that fake hero. How is All Might a fake hero? Kirishima shouted in surprise. A true hero saves anybody, no matter their quirk or status. Uncle Sho said, forcing himself to calm down. All Might admitted in front of you all that he would have honestly let Izuku die and he wouldn't care. Everybody went silent, including Bakugo surprisingly. Now, get off the bus cause we're here. Both Cat and I got off the bus, not taking the time to wait for the rest of them since they're kinda frozen in shock. When we got off the bus we were greeted by 13 Sensei who looks a bit nervous. Hi 13 Sensei, are you alright? You appear to be uneasy. I asked her, trying to act natural. Yeah, just a bit worried about something. 13 Sensei said in a mumble. Everything will be fine, you've given this type of class a dozen times, just because Cat and I are here doesn't mean anything is gonna happen. I said, hinting towards everything would be fine, not saying it directly because we don't know if they have a villain able to monitor us without us knowing. You're right, just because my favorite students are here doesn't change things. 13 Sensei said with a fake sigh of relief. Anyways, it's time to start the class since everybody has finally gotten off the bus. Sorry it took so long Sensei. Yaoyorozu said a bit shyly. We were given a piece of information that shocked us. Anyways, you did Aizawa's assessment test to find out the limits of your quirks, and All Might's battle training to learn how dangerous they could be to other people. 13 Sensei said sounding more relieved. I think she mistook what Yaoyorozu said for us telling them about us ambushing those who tried to ambush us. In my class you will learn how to control your quirks so that way you can use them to rescue civilians. We walked into the building and 13 gave her usual prepared speech about the danger of quirk. We got split up into groups in order to cover the courses easier. I've been turning the comms on every 5 minutes to conserve battery in them. The comms is the way that Nizu is keeping tabs on us to see when the ambush will take place. Nizu-sensei, can you hear me? I asked into the comms, getting no answer. Nizu-sensei, if this is a joke I'm taking your tea away. When I still got no answer I knew he wasn't joking. 13 Sensei, it's happening. Izuku's POV, what do you mean it's happening? Yaoyorozu asked alarmed. I thought they told you. 13 Sensei said confused. About the ambush. What ambush? Yagi asked confused and alarmed. The villains, they planned to ambush us here but Nizu found out and set up an ambush for the villains. 13-sensei explained. No, we weren't told about that. Yaoyorozu said confusedly. How did you know Yamada? 'Cause it was Kat and I that helped Nizu find what file was stolen. I answered honestly. Now we've got to hurry back to the entrance. Just then villains appeared out of a purple warp or something. They surrounded us while giggling in excitement. Looks like we got ourselves a good catch here, boys. One of the male villains said with a nasty smirk. Even the few ladies here with us can have some fun if they'd like. Just looking at them ugly skanks would make me soft if I was hard in the first place. I commented with a sneer. 13-sensei, you get them back to the entrance, I'll deal with these guys. Without giving 13-sensei the time to argue, I launched at the nearest villain, which happened to be a woman, and used my metal fist to hit her in the gut hard enough to make her collapse to the ground, gasping and trying to get a breath. I then used my flesh hand and throat punched the villain to my left before kicking the one to my right in the face and hearing a crunch. The villains cleared away from me, which created a hole in their circle, and 13-sensei, Yaoyorozu, Yagi, and Hagakure got away. I followed them for about 10 feet before I turned around and got ready to fight the villains to ensure that they got away. The first one to catch up received a metal fist to the side of the face, nearly snapping her neck from the force used. They decided to try and surround me, but any that tried to get behind me were immediately dealt with rather than risking them going after 13-sensei and the others, causing them to form a semicircle instead. The leader of this particular group, probably not the actual leader, was the first to try his luck, but his run ended quickly with a chokehold until he passed out, and I threw his unconscious form, taking 2 more villains out, at least temporarily, with them. One of them took hold of my metal arm, so I let it detach and grabbed them by the throat with it, distracting 3 others to try and help the woman while I fought the other 5 one-armed. I could hear the panicking from the group dealing with my metal arm while I was fighting the 5, and I noticed the woman pass out from lack of oxygen, so I released my metal arm's grip on the woman, and the hand ended up in the face of one of the dudes, so I made my metal arm grab onto his face while I kicked the 3rd villain I'm fighting in the side of the head, knocking him out. The last 2 ran off in fear, so I rushed the remaining 3 trying to deal with my metal arm. I reached up and ripped the right sleeve off of my shirt and leaped into the air, landing with my arm automatically reattaching to my body. I lifted the man up, not having released my metal hand's grip on him, and threw him at the other, slamming him and the other 2 into the cliffside and knocking all 3 of them out. I heard screaming from up on top of the cliff, so I started scaling it as quickly as I could. I reached the top about 2 minutes later, and I found just 1 villain left standing, but he has Kaminari hostage and Jiro is on the ground injured from what looks like Kaminari's quirk. The villain has his back to me, probably thinking nobody would scale the cliff, so he thinks his backside is protected. I snuck up behind him and nailed him over the back of the head with my metal fist. I used my flesh hand to grab the collar of Kaminari's shirt before walking over to Jiro's form and picked her up carefully in my metal arm. I ran off towards the entrance while making sure we weren't spotted by anybody, since I can't exactly fight people off with a short-circuited Kaminari and an injured enough that she can't move on her own Jiro. I eventually made it back to the entrance, where I spotted an injured 13-sensei being tended to by Yaoyorozu and the other groups of students just standing there. As soon as Yaoyorozu spotted Jiro in my arms, she leaped up, causing me to release my hold on Kaminari's collar to Zero while gently laying Jiro on the ground for Yaoyorozu to tend to. Ida, across the street in the cafe is a group of heroes, go get them. I shouted at him, causing him to try to speak up. Don't argue with me, just do it. Just then I heard a familiar voice scream in pain. I looked down and froze for a split second in shock. I sprinted down the stairs as fast as I could. It's morphin' time. I shouted, causing the morpher to appear in my hand. Tyrannosaurus. I heard the coins rearrange and I slammed down on the morpher, causing myself to be engulfed in a flash of red light. I charged at whatever it was that was holding Uncle Sho and sent it flying. How did you do that? A blue-haired man with a literal hand on his face shouted, enraged. Azui and Mineta wasted no time running around the blue-haired man and towards Uncle Sho, and I, Azui, grab Uncle Sho and take him up the stairs, I'll cover you. I said to her, getting a barely noticeable nod before her tongue wrapped around Uncle Sho's body. Nomu, Kill the brat in the red costume, he blue-haired man shouted before the monster from before was all of a sudden in front of me and I punched its arm out of pure reflex which barely kept me in place. The shockwave that emitted from our fists colliding caused the students at the top of the stairs to scream in fright. The next punch came too fast for me to intercept, but I was able to put my block up in time to lessen the damage I received. I was sent flying by the punch and landed on the lower stairs. Power down. I commanded, and with another flash of red I was back in my tattered outfit from before. It's morphin' time, Triceratops. With a flash of blue I was in a different hero suit than before and I ran at the Nomu who was just standing still, causing me to pause in confusion. Nomu, kill the brat in the blue costume. The blue-haired man shouted and the Nomu charged at me again. This time I put my guard up and barely felt the punch. Nomu, stop playing around and kill him already. He shouted in rage. I won't let you hurt him. I heard Yagi shout before the Nomu was sent flying by an invisible force. Another wannabe hero, eh? He said with a sinister smile and I knew what was coming next. Power down. I called, another flash of light. It's morphin' time, Tigerzord. I used the suit's super speed ability and barely made it in time to take the hit to cover Yagi. Midair I lost the suit and hit the stairs hard, hearing a crack come from my back and feeling pain covering my entire back and my chest. Izuku. I heard Kat shout just as she rounded the corner. Just in that moment I heard the doors at the entrance be forced open and in an instant all of the villains except for the blue-haired man, the misty man, and the Nomu were knocked unconscious. I stood up slowly and painfully. It's morphin' time, Tigerzord. I shouted, and without wasting time I rushed Kat and her group, along with Yagi, up the stairs and to the rest of the class. As soon as we were all at the top of the stairs the rest of the heroes made it inside along with Ida and I collapsed to the ground with a grunt and the suit disappearing once again. I heard Dad shout for me before I saw his face along with Auntie Nems appear above me with worry written all over both of their faces. I held my hand up and Auntie Nem hesitantly helped me stand. Don't worry, I'm alright aside from some minor injuries. I said reassuringly. Minor? I could have sworn I heard your back break when you hit the stairs. Yagi shouted. Just then we all looked up upon hearing something breaking through the roof of the USJ, but none of us knew what did. We all looked back to the plaza to see All Might holding his fist in the air in victory. Before anything else could happen a green and white warp, similar to the purple one from before opened and a woman stepped through.